welcoming you for the second part of my talk, Who Created Us? And this talk is based on a book written by me with the same title, Who Created Us? As I said earlier in the first part of my talk, we often admire the man-made wonders but neglect and forget to admire trillions of naturally occurring wonders around us. How many of us ever take out some time and observe the activities of tiny creatures like ants? How many of us? Single ant looking at some food particle and then going back to its home, informing and calling for the help, bringing its companions to carry the food back home. Ants hugging and meeting each other, ants speaking with each other, ants dividing their work, ants having marketplaces exchanging their goods, ants using their wisdom, ants drying their food in damp weather so that it will not rot, ants burying their dead ones, ants having digestive, cardiovascular and nervous systems which work in tandem. Who created all these wonders with such a fine art and tuning in such a minute creature? Do we ever think? Isn't it more miraculous than man-made wonders present in the world? Is the God whom you worship capable of doing this miracle? Do we ever think? Do we ever look at the honeybees and wonder? Who governs their fine work of creating and storing honey, which is done so systematically and wonderfully? Do we look at birds, at fishes, at each and every animal and each and every plant? Every species is so unique in its features. Every species so marvelous and wonderful. There is incredible intelligence of all the animals, even mouse, insects, ants. Incredible intelligence. Most of them have great communication skills. Most of them are great artists, and their art of making nests, making home is just incredible. Who created them? Do we ever think? Is the God whom you worship capable of doing this miracle? The one who created animals smaller than ants and bigger than dinosaur, giving all the body systems even to tiny creatures like ants and even more tiny, more smaller than them, just like those of giant animals. Can't we imagine his magnitude? Is the God whom you worship capable of doing these miracles? Do we look at the living wonders existing around us? Do we ever? The science of which many people are so proud of is not even capable of counting the living wonders existing in the natural world. Many scientists tried several times but failed miserably. Recent estimate by team of scientists quotes that the total living species are around 8.7 million as quoted by BBC, and this number is barring pathogens, and moreover the same team of scientists regrets for its inaccuracy, inefficiency and inability to count the exact figure, which is predicted to be much higher, and they say that the counted species may be even less than 14% of the world's existing species and less than 9% of those in the oceans. Most scientists believe that more than 90% of the species existing in the world are not yet been identified. There are many more studies who put the number of the counted species much higher. One such study claims of 330 million species of animals, 130 million insects, and doesn't forget to add that the actual number may be much, much higher than that. Isn't this fact more amazing and wonderful than any other wonder of the world of which we are so crazy about? If I try to study and speak about wonders of one species, one single species, then it may need years and years for me to describe and to speak, probably my whole life. Then what about more than 8.7 million species as stated by BBC studies, and more than 330 million, some quote billions? What about them? What about them? How much time it will need for a person to just quote or just enumerate a few points about each and every species? Maybe hundreds and thousands of years will not be enough just to enumerate few points related to one single species. Forget about describing the wonders of each and every species. Who decides the age of every living species? Who gives the birth and death to each one? Who decides the age? Who decides about their childhood, about their youth, about their adulthood and senility, and finally death? Aren't these things more miraculous and wonderful than any other man-made wonder in the world of which we are so crazy about? What about the non-living wonders around us? The rivers, seas, oceans, mountains, and so on and so many which exist on our earth. And there are some people who even don't hesitate to call the rivers and seas and oceans and mountains as God. Are these rivers and oceans and mountains capable of creating billions and billions of galaxies? What about 8 planets and 5 dwarf planets in just one solar system of ours? What about the sun and billions of stars bigger than the sun in our single galaxy, the Milky Way? Some scientists say 100 billion stars exist in Milky Way. Some say 400 billions, and some say that they are far, far more than that, and billions of them being bigger than our sun. And all these in our one galaxy, the Milky Way. What about them? Aren't they more miraculous and wonderful than any other man-made wonder in the world of which we are so crazy about? What about the billions of galaxies existing in the universe which are far bigger than our galaxy, the Milky Way? Some scientists say 100 billions, some say 1,000 billions, and some say that they are far, far more than that, because what we observe may be just a dot of what is existing. What about them? Aren't they more miraculous and wonderful than any other man-made wonder in the world of which we are so crazy about? Who created them? Who created minute details in tiny creatures who are smaller than ants? And who created billions of living species and billions of galaxies? The Creator who has such fine art to create minute systems in minute creatures, and who has such a great vision to control such a vast universe of trillions and trillions of galaxies. Isn't the Creator the greatest of all the creators? Aren't His creations more miraculous and wonderful than any other man-made wonder in the world of which we are so crazy about? Friends, when we inquire about Creator of minor wonders in the world, then shouldn't we try to know about the Creator of such major and innumerable wonders? And finally, if we look at ourselves, don't we find ourselves as most wonderful thing existing on the earth? The human being who speaks, hears, sees, smells, tastes, smiles, cries, shouts, feels, thinks, analyzes, discovers, invents, isn't he himself more miraculous and wonderful than any other wonder created by him in the world of which we are so crazy about?